When their beautiful German Shepherd, Bella, hadn't been able to poop for several days, her owner, Veronica, rushed her to the vet clinic. As Dr. Johnson gently examined Bella's belly, his expression suddenly changed. His face tensed with concern and disbelief. "How in the world did this end up in her stomach?" he said, stunned. Veronica sat nervously in the exam room beside Bella, answering all of Dr. Johnson's questions about her dog's behavior, eating habits, and health. She hoped that giving him enough details would help him figure out what was wrong and how to fix it. But then he said something that completely threw her off. From the moment he touched Bella's stomach, he already had a pretty strong guess about the problem, but he couldn't be certain yet. "There's definitely something stuck in her stomach," he said seriously. "We need to do emergency surgery right away." "It's not too late, but this is the only way to help her now." Once the surgery was done, Johnson knew he had to speak with Veronica right away. He had found something truly unexpected inside Bella's stomach, and he needed to understand how it got there. What exactly did Dr. Johnson find? Why did it leave him so shocked? And why was it so important that he talk to Veronica about it? "Mom, come quick, it's happening again!" Lisa shouted from the garden. Veronica heard the worry in her daughter's voice and rushed outside. She already had a feeling about what Lisa was referring to. Once outside, she looked around for Bella, their sweet German Shepherd who hadn't been feeling well lately. Bella was slowly sniffing around the yard, clearly searching for a good spot on the grass to relieve herself. She walked in circles a few times and finally squatted down. So far, nothing seemed too unusual, but Veronica kept a close eye on her. Bella usually didn't take long, but lately things hadn't been normal. It had been days since Bella had gone properly, and her family was growing more and more worried. Once again, Bella was straining hard. Her whole body trembled with the effort, but still, nothing. She tried again, but all that came was a quiet, sad whine. It was clear she was in pain. Veronica and her husband Mark had already tried everything they could think of to help her, but it had been too long now, and nothing was working. "That's it. I'm taking her to the vet," Veronica said firmly. But she didn't want to go back to their usual veterinary clinic. She'd called them a few times already and explained Bella's symptoms, but every time they told her the same thing. "We understand you're concerned, but just give it a few more days. Make sure she drinks enough water, and she should be fine." That wasn't good enough. Veronica knew deep down that something was seriously wrong. She had to do more. So she started looking up other vet clinics online and made a few quick calls, asking if anyone could see Bella as soon as possible. Most of the clinics Veronica called told her they were already full and could only see Bella the next day. But finally, the last office she tried said they could fit her in within the hour. "Thank you so much. I'll be there right away," Veronica said, letting out a breath of relief as she hung up the phone. She hurried into the kitchen where Mark was preparing lunch and told him the good news, that she'd managed to get an appointment. "That's great. Do you want me to come with you?" he asked. "No, I've got it." "You stay here with Lisa. She wanted to come with us, but I think it's best if she stays home." "I don't know what the vet is going to say yet," Veronica replied. Mark nodded and went back to lunch preparations, while Veronica stepped outside to call Bella. The poor dog still hadn't managed to go, and she looked worse than ever. She was breathing heavily and letting out soft whines. Veronica felt a wave of urgency. It was clear she had to hurry. She gently picked Bella up, carried her to the car out front, and placed her carefully in the crate in the trunk. Bella began whining louder now, which was unusual for her. Normally, she loved car rides, watching people and birds out the window. But this time, she was restless and clearly uncomfortable. Veronica slid into the driver's seat and started the car, doing her best to keep calm. Luckily, the clinic was only 15 minutes away. As she drove, she kept speaking softly to her dog, hoping her voice would ease the tension. "It's okay, Bella." The doctor's going to help you soon. You're such a good girl." She glanced at the rearview mirror and saw Bella's eyes meeting hers. The pain in them made Veronica's chest tighten. "We're almost there. Just hold on," she whispered. Though the drive should have taken 15 minutes, Veronica pulled into the clinic lot in under 10. She quickly parked, lifted Bella out of the crate, and rushed inside straight to the receptionist. "Hello, I'm Veronica. I called earlier about my dog Bella. I came as fast as I could," she explained. "Yes, welcome. I'll let Dr. Johnson know you've arrived. He'll be here shortly." "Please have a seat while you wait," the receptionist replied. "Thank you," Veronica said as she sat down in the waiting room. Bella stood beside her, tense and refusing to sit. Veronica gently stroked her back, whispering reassurances, but nothing seemed to ease Bella's stress. Thankfully, only a few minutes later, a doctor walked in and called Bella's name. Veronica quickly stood up, shook the doctor's hand, and introduced herself. "Please follow me," he said as he led her toward his office. Her nerves grew tighter with every step. This was it. Once inside the exam room, Veronica carefully lifted Bella onto the table. "So, I understand she's constipated. Can you tell me when this started and what's been happening?" Dr. Johnson asked, following up with a few more detailed questions. Veronica answered each one carefully, giving as much information as she could about Bella's health, appetite, and behavior. She hoped it would help him figure out what was wrong with her sweet dog. Watching Bella in pain was breaking her heart. Dr. Johnson slowly approached Bella and let her sniff his hand first. She was clearly nervous, sitting low on the table, ears back, eyes wide, and tail tucked tightly between her legs. Veronica wanted to scoop her up and comfort her, but she knew she needed to let the doctor do his work. His calm manner seemed to help. He moved slowly and gently, offering Bella a treat and stroking her head. Little by little, Bella relaxed. Then, as he kept her distracted, he lifted her front leg and carefully pressed along her abdomen with his other hand, feeling for anything unusual. He was cautious not to hurt her. The whole time, Veronica's eyes were locked on his face, trying to read what he was thinking. But he showed no reaction, just steady and professional. Bella stayed quiet until suddenly she let out a sharp yelp. "That's what I suspected, Doctor," Johnson said softly. He already knew what the problem was and how to fix it. But the answer wasn't at all what Veronica had hoped for. His face grew serious as he looked at her. "We need to do emergency surgery immediately." Veronica froze, stunned. "Surgery? Right now?" she whispered, completely unprepared for those words. Her mind spun as an assistant stepped into the room. Veronica's grip tightened on her own arm as she blurted out, "I need to be with my dog. Please, give me an explanation." The assistant, seeing her distress, touched her arm gently. "I understand your worry. I truly do. But right now, I don't have all the details. As soon as the vet updates me, I'll tell you everything." The reassurance wasn't enough. "Why can't I stay with her?" "I've always been allowed before," Veronica pressed, frustration rising. Past visits flashed through her mind. She'd always been by Bella's side. The sudden change in rules only made her more anxious. Still, the assistant's answer didn't change. "I'm really sorry, but my hands are tied." "We have to wait for the vet to give us more information," the assistant repeated gently. Veronica reluctantly nodded, realizing there wasn't much she could do. Still, curiosity gnawed at her, making her need for answers even stronger. She sat down in the waiting room, her heart heavy with worry. Thoughts of the worst possible outcomes swirled through her mind until her eyes filled with tears. The weight of not knowing became too much, and at last the tears streamed freely down her cheeks. As she sat there, Veronica made a bold choice. She couldn't just sit and wait any longer. She needed to know what was happening. Quietly and with a new sense of determination, she came up with a plan to sneak into the back. Maybe then she could see Bella and calm her own fears. She looked around carefully, making sure no one was paying attention. Then she stood up and moved toward the hallway with quiet, steady steps. Her heart pounded harder the closer she got to the exam room door, the place where pets were treated and sometimes operated on. What was going on in there? Just as she reached for the door, a sudden noise echoed down the hall. Panic shot through her. She quickly slipped into a nearby closet, holding her breath as staff members walked by. Fear and curiosity tangled together inside her, making her pulse race. When the hallway grew silent again, she stepped out and hurried toward the door at the end of the hall. The sight of it pulled her forward. It felt like all her answers were waiting just beyond it. Hope and dread twisted inside her. She wanted more than anything to know that Bella was okay, but part of her feared what she might discover. Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself and slowly pushed the door open. The suspense was overwhelming. Her heart nearly stopped when she found herself face to face with the vet. Startled, Veronica stammered, I just needed to check on my dog. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude." Fear and desperation battled inside her as she pleaded, "She means everything to me. I need to know if she's okay. Please, just tell me what's wrong." Dr. Johnson looked at her for a long moment, clearly weighing his words. Finally, he said firmly, "I'm sorry, but you can't be in here. No one except me and my staff are allowed with your dog right now. I can't tell you more. You'll just need to wait." His response only deepened her confusion. "Why can't you tell me anything?" she begged, her voice breaking. Before he could reply, one of his assistants rushed in, looking pale. "You have to see this," she said, holding a binder against her chest. She opened it and showed the vet something inside. His eyes instantly filled with tears. Wiping them quickly, he gave a sharp order. "Call the police." Now? The weight of his words hit Veronica hard. Her heart sank as more questions filled her mind. What in the world had they found inside Bella, and why did it mean calling the police? What had the vet seen in that binder, and why had it left him so emotional? Veronica's mind spun as she tried to process his sudden order to call the police. Confusion and disbelief mixed together. How could her dog's illness possibly involve law enforcement? "What is going on here? I need answers right now," she demanded, her voice shaking. But Dr. Johnson refused to say more. The pressure of police involvement seemed to weigh on him heavily, and his lips stayed tightly sealed. "Please, just tell me," Veronica pushed, but the vet finally said the only way she'd get information was through the police. That left her with no choice. Frustrated but determined, she decided to go to the station herself. If the answers weren't here, maybe the authorities had them. Her mind raced the whole way to her car. As she sat behind the wheel, sadness washed over her. Bella was so used to the safety of home, yet now she was in a strange place, surrounded by strangers. Veronica could only hope her sweet dog would be all right until she returned. Fueled by worry, she started the engine and drove toward the station. Curiosity and fear tangled inside her, pushing her forward. Soon she pulled into the parking lot, climbed out quickly, and walked toward the entrance with a sense of urgency. Inside, the station felt tense. Officers moved briskly through the halls, carrying paperwork and exchanging hurried words. The air seemed charged with importance, as though something big was happening. Still, Veronica forced herself to focus. She needed to know what was happening with Bella. She approached the front desk, where 2 officers sat. Without wasting a moment, she explained her situation, her words spilling out as she told them everything she knew. Then she looked at them with wide, pleading eyes, hoping they could finally give her clarity. But instead of answers, something unexpected happened. The officers exchanged glances, then asked if she could prove she was really Bella's owner. Their almost smiling expressions made her frustration boil over. Why would they doubt her now, of all times? She explained again, her voice sharp with anger. "That's what you want to ask me? After everything that's happening?" Her temper only seemed to make things worse. Unimpressed, the officers cut her off and firmly insisted she identify herself first. Only then did Veronica realize the truth. This moment was about to set off a chain of events she never could have imagined. Reaching into her purse to pull out her wallet, her stomach dropped. It wasn't there. Her heart pounded, and with Bella's labored breathing still fresh in her mind, Veronica knew she had to act quickly. That morning, in the rush to get Bella to the vet, Veronica had left her wallet on the dresser in the hallway. Realizing this now couldn't have come at a worse time. In a desperate attempt to make things right, she apologized to the officers, hoping they'd let her go with just a warning. But they weren't moved. Forgiveness wasn't an option. She had no choice. She'd have to drive back home and grab her passport and wallet. With urgency pulsing through her, Veronica hurried out of the station and back toward her car. Every second she spent away felt like an eternity for Bella, who was still alone at the clinic. The thought made her chest tighten. Adrenaline fueled her as she sped out of the lot, her mind locked on Bella's worried eyes. But as she turned onto the road, a strange unease crept in. A chill ran down her back. Was someone following her? Shaking her head, she whispered to herself, "No, that's impossible. I'm just imagining things." Still, curiosity and caution got the better of her. To test her suspicion, she turned down an unfamiliar street, then another. But the car stayed behind her. Her pulse quickened. Determined to be sure, she pressed the gas harder, weaving quickly through side streets. The feeling of being chased was overwhelming. It was like she had stepped into the middle of a movie. Her breathing grew rapid as she glanced in the rearview mirror. Her heart nearly stopped. The same car was still there. Fear surged through her, mixing with confusion. Who would be following her, and why? She pushed the pedal down harder, desperate to stay ahead. But no matter how she maneuvered, the car stayed close, closing the gap. A sinking helplessness washed over her. She couldn't outrun it.
Veronica decided
she
to
pulled
stop
over
at
to
the side of the road.
Her heart
When
pounding
the
so
car
hard
finally
she thought
approached,
it might burst.
Veronica's heart raced
The car
and
slowed,
threatened.
then rolled to a stop behind her. As the driver stepped out, relief washed over her, mixed with shock. It was Charles, the veterinarian who had examined Bella earlier that day. The sight of a familiar face eased her fear for a moment, but confusion quickly replaced it. Why had he followed her instead of calling? She managed a small, uncertain smile as he walked toward her window, but it faded when she saw how serious he looked. Her stomach knotted. "What's going on?" Veronica asked quietly, bracing herself for his answer. For a moment, Charles couldn't find the right words. Finally, he said, "Please, brace yourself. What I'm about to tell you won't be easy to hear." Veronica's chest tightened. Her curiosity burned. She needed to know. Charles explained that he had overheard a troubling conversation outside the veterinary clinic earlier. It involved 3 police officers, and while the details were scattered, what he caught wasn't good. One phrase in particular kept echoing in his head. Get rid of her. The words weren't literal, but the intent behind them chilled him. Even worse, he had heard Veronica's name mentioned more than once. He couldn't ignore it. That was why he had decided to follow her, to warn her directly. Fear crept over Veronica as she listened, the weight of his words pressing down on her. Just as she opened her mouth to ask what it all meant, her phone rang suddenly, cutting through the tension. She froze. The unknown number on the screen made her pulse quicken. Charles urged her to answer. This could be important. With shaky hands, she lifted the phone to her ear. "Hello?" A cold, distorted voice spoke on the other end, sending chills through both her and Charles. "Veronica, you must come to me. Your life is at stake, and only I can protect you." Charles motioned for her to ask questions. Swallowing nervously, Veronica did. "Who are you? Why are you calling me?" The voice grew sharper, tinged with anger. "You don't need to know who I am. What matters is your safety. Where are you? Tell me now." Charles immediately gestured for her to hang up. Without hesitation, Veronica ended the call, her fingers trembling as she set the phone down. The two exchanged bewildered glances, the air between them heavy with confusion and fear. Everything was becoming stranger by the minute. Sensing a connection to Bella, Veronica turned to Charles, the man who had examined her dog earlier that day. "Please, tell me what's going on. If anyone knows, it's you." Charles's silence spoke louder than words. His eyes searched for the right way to respond. Veronica leaned forward, realizing he was holding something back. Her voice hardened. "You know more than you're telling me?" "What is it?" Charles hesitated. His words came out slow and cautious. "The truth is, I'm not certain. The test results were taken by the police before I could confirm them. Without seeing them myself, I can't verify what they really mean. Until then, I can't risk telling you something that might not be accurate." It sounded like he was protecting something or someone. Veronica's frustration built, but she realized pressing harder would only make him shut down more. For now, she would have to find another path forward. The question was, which one? The burning question echoed through Veronica's mind. What should I do next? Charles suggested they stop by her home. He explained that there were certain things there that might help confirm his suspicions about the missing test results. Intrigued by the possibility of answers waiting inside her own house, Veronica agreed. They decided to drive separately, each lost in thought about what they might uncover. As Veronica steered down the road, disbelief rose in her chest. Only that morning, life had been normal. Now it felt like she had been thrown into the middle of a strange, action-packed story. If it weren't for the fear twisting in her stomach, she might have thought it was all just a dream. But it was very real. After 15 minutes, they finally pulled up to her house. Thinking ahead, Veronica decided to grab her passport, just in case it might be needed again. She told Charles, so he would be prepared too. While she headed upstairs to her room to find the document, Charles began looking around the house, determined to piece together the puzzle that had tangled them both. But as Veronica searched through her closet, her movements froze. Out of nowhere, a hand clamped over her mouth. Terror shot through her body, until she turned and saw it was Charles. Why would he do such a thing? Did he mean to harm her, or was there a reason? His voice was low, urgent, just a whisper against her ear. Shh! That's when Veronica heard it too, faint voices drifting up from downstairs. Her heart pounded as the fear sank in. Someone was inside the house. She and Charles ducked quietly behind the bed, waiting, holding their breath. Below, the sounds grew louder. Furniture scraped, drawers opened, things crashed to the floor. Then came a triumphant shout. "Yes, we got it! Now let's get out of here, fast!" Veronica and Charles stayed frozen until the noise faded and the intruders left. Slowly, they crept down the stairs. The sight that greeted them made Veronica's stomach drop. Her living room was torn apart, cushions slashed, shelves emptied, everything in chaos. But what had those strangers been looking for? And more importantly, what had they found? Charles's face was grim, but his silence told Veronica he had an idea. A hunch he wasn't ready to explain. Her frustration flared. How could he still keep things from her, especially when her safety was hanging by a thread? Finally, Charles seemed to realize it was time to take the next step. Though he still couldn't bring himself to reveal everything, he suggested they go straight to the police station. "That's where the answers are," he said firmly. Though her nerves were frayed, Veronica agreed. She couldn't walk away now. When she entered the police station once more, her eyes immediately scanned the room, searching for the two officers who had earlier demanded her identification. To her surprise, the two officers she had met earlier were nowhere to be seen. Just as confusion set in, another officer walked up and called her name. "Veronica?" "I'm Officer Henry. Sorry for the inconvenience," he said kindly. He explained that the officers from before had been wrong to pressure her about a passport while her dog was in such a serious condition. His unexpected apology caught her off guard. But when he mentioned her dog, her curiosity deepened. Why was the police department so concerned about Bella? Trusting his calm demeanor, Veronica followed him into a room where two more agents were waiting. The mystery around Bella's condition hung heavy in the air. Veronica sat down, her heart racing, ready to finally learn the truth. Before speaking, one officer handed her a contract. It stated that everything she was about to hear must remain confidential. The secrecy made her hesitate, but only for a moment. Determined to know the truth, she signed. When the paperwork was complete, Officer Henry sat across from her and spoke carefully. "I'm sorry, but your dog had a severe reaction to something inside your house." Veronica frowned in confusion. What could possibly cause that? He continued, "At first we weren't sure, but we knew it had to be something illegal and dangerous. With a warrant, we searched your living room. That's when we found the source." Veronica leaned in, bracing herself. "Underneath your couch," Henry said, "we discovered a branch from a tree that's banned in most places because of its poisonous nature. Your dog must have dragged it home, maybe as a toy." Veronica shook her head in disbelief. She had never even heard of such a tree. "But where could Bella have found it?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We checked the neighborhood," the officer replied. "One of your neighbors was illegally growing several of them. We've already removed every tree and fined the neighbor. This won't happen again, I promise." The explanation was a lot to process, but a single thought rose above the rest. Was Bella poisoned? Would she survive? Panic gripped her. "I'm sorry," Henry said gently. "I can't say for certain. Let me check with the vet right now." As he left the room, Veronica lowered her head into her hands. The thought of losing Bella over something so senseless tore at her heart. Moments later, Henry returned, this time with a smile. "Good news. I just spoke with the vet. Bella is going to make a full recovery. She'll need to stay at the clinic a few more hours, but after that, she can go home." Relief washed over Veronica so strongly, she almost cried. After an exhausting day of fear and confusion, she could finally breathe again. Soon, Bella would be back where she belonged, and sure enough, before long, Bella was home, running happily through the garden with Lisa as if nothing had ever happened. Watching her play, Veronica felt pure gratitude. From that day forward, she and her family kept an extra close eye on Bella, making sure their curious girl stayed safe. Thank you so much for following along with Bella's story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss more stories like this one.